Hi, I'm the Moorlander and this is Moorlander EDC. Now, here in the Northern Hemisphere, the best part about the autumn and the winter is it gets dark early, and getting dark early means it's flashlight or torch seasons, yes! So if you're after a small, pocketable, definitely very EDC friendly, rechargeable flashlight, the Archer Pro from Thrunite might genuinely be the light for you. So that's what we're going to have a look at today. Now, Thrunite did send this to me. I always talk to them, and all products that are sent to me today will hopefully, they will definitely be 100% my opinion. I've certainly not been paid, or this isn't a sponsored piece of content where I have to review this favorably. However, kind of spoiler here, it's actually a really nice little light, and I've become very attached to this when compared against like the i5T or the i3T from Olight, which are a very popular go-to choice for EDC flashlights. I think the Archer Pro has a good chance of maybe giving you another option. So what I'll do is I'll turn the camera around so that we can take a closer look at this. I'll try and get through that bit a little bit more quickly so that we can have a look at this in the dark. But whilst I'm turning the camera around, please feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. That would be greatly appreciated. And if you did find this content helpful, if this is something that you're thinking of picking up and you think, that really helped, I'd like to buy that guy a pint, there's a new thank you button down there as well if you'd like to buy me a pint. But for now, let's take a closer look at the Archer Pro from Thrunite. So as we usually do, we'll go through some measurements, some materials, and then we'll have a look around the actual light itself. And I've also brought in some other similar lights so that we can compare those as well. Measurements wise, it comes in at 96mm by 21mm in diameter. There is a thinning point here, so the 21mm is the widest point, which is in the head here, and also on the tail clicker here, but it does taper ever so slightly. But I think you're probably talking maybe 3, maybe 4mm where it does taper down here in the shaft. As far as what this is made from, this is made from a premium Type 3 anodized aluminium, which you tend to find with a lot of these style flashlights. So I think all of these lights that we have here are all made from, again, a very similar type of aluminium. Because it's aluminium, a lot of the newer aluminium alloys, they can certainly make it a lot harder and a lot stronger than aluminium traditionally used to be way back when. But it also helps that it's got some of those lighter properties, so it comes in at 65 grams, which again, compared to some of these other lights, it's very similar. And I suppose really at this point, the one thing to point out with this is that this is a pocketable EDC flashlight. In the hand, it's not huge, it doesn't need to be huge. It's certainly not like some of the ones that we've been looking at recently that have these huge throws, have this amazing candela. As far as the throws on this, at max when it's on its turbo mode, you can get up to about 135 meters, which in testing, yeah, maybe, but I think really you'd need to be in a perfectly dark room with a light sensor at the end of the room, and I'm sure that's exactly how they make these. Actually using it, I was probably getting 70 to 80 meters, and I was happy with that. It just meant that I could walk the dogs in the woods, and I could see them. I could see in front of me, and like I say, it does exactly what it needs to do for a small EDC pocket light like this. The candela, or the intensity on this, comes in at 4,500 CDs, which again, that's at its max. It's not a huge thrower again, but and I'm probably gonna, in fact, let's try not to say this as often, but you know, it's just a small EDC pocketable flashlight. Now going around it, so there is a little clip on this. The clip comes off if you want to, but I do have to say on a lot of other lights I don't tend to take the clips off, but this one, the clip is really hard to take off, so I just left it on there. But it is one of these double reversible ones, so if you want to put it in your pocket you can do, but if you want to have this so that you can maybe put this on the front of a hat, then you can do that as well. There is no magnet on the end of the tail, mainly because that's where your tail switch is for on and off, and it is a simple, super easy single tail switch. And then you've got different variations of clicks, double clicks or long presses to be able to go through the different functions that are on there. And the LED unit that's in there, if I stand this up on its tail, you can just see in. Actually, while you're looking in there, hopefully if you can pick this up on the camera, so there you'll be able to see that the reflector on this is a really nice orange peel reflector, so that you get a very nice even spread, where rather than like a dedicated hot point, yeah, it does a very good job of being able to evenly spread there. And just maybe at certain angles you get a bit of a purpley tinge from the glass, because there is an anti-reflective coating on there just to help as well. Now the LED unit in there is a Cree XPL2 unit, and there you go, just in case you wanted to know what the unit is that's in there. As far as all other functions that are on here, really there's only one, and it's probably one thing that I've not mentioned so far. And so this is a rechargeable, there is a rechargeable battery in here. I have had a look through all of the literature that comes with this light, and I've not been able to find out anywhere, so I'll have another look just in case, but I really can't find any information about the size of the battery in here. I've tried to see if I can take the tail cap off. I mean, I've tried my hardest. If anybody else has managed to take it off, if I'm just not, I need to pull up my big boy pants and, you know, turn it a little bit more. I can't seem to take the tail cap off, so I'm not too sure about what battery is in there. However, we have got some information about how long the battery will last on certain light levels. To recharge it, it's actually a really nice little hidden feature on this. So you turn the head unit round and there's a sleeve, so if you can see there, so as I turn this round, this sleeve comes forward over the LED, and then on the inside we've got a new USB type C port in there for charging. So it's great to see more and more lights coming forward using USB type C. Charges reasonably quickly as well. It's not a light that I've found takes a long time to charge. The threads on this, there's a tiny little bit of play, but I certainly wouldn't say that there was a lot of play. And then on the inside there is a rubber gasket O-ring to make sure that this stays reasonably waterproof. Now, as far as your IPX rating is concerned, it's actually quite good. So this is an IPX8, which means that it can be submerged up to roughly 2 meters of water and left for, I forget how long it is now actually. How long is it? They say you can leave it for roughly about an hour. So it does a very good job. Now, as far as, it's the IP, which is your water, which is your dust and water. So it's X8, which means that it hasn't been tested for dirt. But I think that's mainly down to the tail switch. If you were to get some dust or debris into there, probably just try not to do that. But as far as pocket lint and, you know, fluff, I wouldn't say you have to worry about that. With the water, it's 8, which is yeah, it's the highest that it goes, so pretty good. Now, as mentioned, so you have this single click button here on the end, and there are different clicks. So it's a simple click for on and off. I do like a double click for on. However, I tend to find with the tail clicks, or at least the tail buttons, like all of these lights, they are less likely to accidentally turn on your pocket. So yeah, I don't mind it on this. But yeah, single click for on, single click for off. If you want, you can do from off, you can do a long press, and it's very difficult to see here, but you can just see this, and that puts it onto its moonlight mode. The moonlight mode, well, I'd say moonlight, they call it a firefly mode, but from a full battery, the moonlight mode on this is 0.41 lumens. I don't think I've ever seen anything that's that one very specific on the amount of lumens that it does. And generally, I don't think I've ever seen one that's less than half a lumen, but 0.41 lumens, and you'll get roughly 15 days of light out of that. You do another press and it will turn it off. Now, there is memory on here, so when you have it on the normal light mode, now I'm going to say the normal light mode is your single press for on and off. If you do your long press for your firefly, or you do a double click so that you can get it into the turbo or strobe mode, those three modes are outside of the parameters of what I would call the normal light modes. So if it's in its normal light modes, then the memory will remember the previous luminosity level that you'd selected. But if you're in a Firefly, Turbo, or Strobe, it won't remember that you run those and put it onto those. Now, if I do a long press for on, what you tend to find with certain lights that have variable options for the amount of lumens, generally you'll get a low, medium, or high. This one does it a little bit differently. So at this, I'm not quite sure. So what I'll do is I'll just put it down onto its low mode. Now, hopefully, if you saw there, what I did was I had my finger on the on and off button. So while it's on, if you do a long press, it will go in one of the ways. Whether if it's its highest, it will go down to its lowest. If it's its lowest, it will go up to its highest. But it has a ramp feature. So rather than having presets of low, medium, and high, you just kind of take your finger off the button when it's at the amount of lumens that you'd like. So when it's at its lowest mode like this is 13 lumens, and you'll get roughly 37 hours out of this. I tend to use I like low and I like moonlight modes. Since I've had this, how long have I had this? I've had this about 2 months now. I've not had to recharge it, and as I say, I use it on its low mode. I did the initial one. Now, so that you know that you're at the lowest or the highest, what it will do is it will blink for you. So if I keep my finger on this now, you'll see it just blinked, and now it's going all the way back up. You can see the light intensity increasing, and it will blink again to let you know that it's on its highest. The highest that you can get from this ramped normal kind of settings is 478 lumens. Now what it will do is it will stay on this for roughly 1 minute, and then it will then drop down. So there is a kick down. After a minute, it will then kick down to 208 lumens, and it'll stay on that for roughly 150 minutes. So it's pretty, and it's quite nice actually. It is a little bit different. Hopefully you'll see it'll flash because we were on high, and then maybe that's roughly halfway. But it's a strange one. There's no way to kind of for you to know whether you're halfway or a third of the way or anything like that. You just put it on, so it should see it's coming back up. It's flashed. It's at its highest. Keep my finger on it. It's flashed again just so that you know it was at the highest, and then it'll come back down again, and you'll see it'll flash again, and there you know that it's at its lowest. So it's a different way of doing it. I don't dislike it. I don't like it. It's just a different way of being able to do it. But it just gives you, I guess, more options as far as how many lumens that you'd like to use, or maybe that there is a perfect sweet spot somewhere in the middle that you like. Just shining it on the desk here, you can see that there is a little bit of a warm spot, but it's not a massively pronounced kind of, you know, the line on that warm spot isn't like super defined, but a lot of that, as I say, mainly comes from the orange peel reflector that's in there. Simple click again, it will turn off, turn it back on again, and as I mentioned with the memory, it will make sure that it puts that back into the mode that you were in last. There is a turbo mode on this, which you can either do from off or while it's on. You can do it while it's on, but whatever mode that you're in, you double click and then it will put it into its turbo mode. The turbo mode, actually let's turn that off a minute. The turbo mode on this bangs it up to 1022 lumens. They're so specific with these. It's like low lumens is 13, high lumens is 478, and turbo is 1022. I think rather than rounding it up or down when they got the information from the light scale or whatever it is, the machinery that they use, they just went, well, we'll go with this. And there is a kick down on this as well, again, so at 1022 lumens it will stay on 1022 lumens for a minute and a half, and then after that it's even more of a significant drop down. It will then go down to 191 lumens, and you'll get roughly an hour and 45 minutes from that, and that's from a full charge. All of the ones that I've given, all of these measurements that are given today, these are from a full charge. Unfortunately, I don't have the equipment that's needed to be able to verify these lumen levels. I'm just going off the literature that's provided to me that comes from Thrunite. Now, I did also mention that there is a strobe mode on here as well, which is a triple click. So 1, 2, 3, and there we've got strobe mode. It's not a variable refresh. It just strobes, which, you know, it does what it needs to do. We have got some lumen levels on this, so while it's strobing, it will strobe at 92 lumens, and from a full battery, you'll get 260 minutes worth of strobe stuff from there. So maybe if you needed to be found, or maybe you needed to use it to, you know, just to startle somebody so that you can run away, or if it is for that, certainly don't need to worry too much about that here in the Kingdom of the Moorlands. But yes, you know, it's a feature on there. Now, I did mention, so I do have these other lights. Now, the first two mainly to bring in here are certainly lights that I've championed. You know, I'm not a kind of a super sponsor from Olight. But I think if you're into EDC and pocketable flashlights, these will always appear on everybody's. You really need to have one of these lights. So here on the left, this is the Olight i3T, and then here in the middle, this is the Olight i5T. Both of these are battery powered, as in replaceable batteries. So these use AAA batteries, and this one uses AA batteries. And then, just as an extra, we have, and I always forget the model on this one, this is from Lumentops, and this is the AA, so this is the Tool AA 2.0. So all very similar in size. The Archer Pro is probably the largest of them, but not by a massive amount. It's maybe a few millimeters longer and a few millimeters wider. The main difference with the Archer Pro is the fact that this uses a rechargeable battery. Also, with all of these, none of these will get up to the light levels that the Archer Pro will. I'm struggling to remember it. I probably should have written this down. But with these two, you're getting roughly the same that you would get on this on its highest mode, but with the ability to be able to have some turbo on here, then you can do that. These both have a high and a low mode, which you have to do this strange kind of double click with, which it's not particularly difficult. Whereas this one has that ramping so that you can get somewhere in the middle that's best use for you. Also has the strobe on this, which isn't available on these two options as well. Now, what you've probably been waiting for, let's have a look at see how this works in the dark. Okay, so out in the dark, let's start this on the low mode. with just 13 lumens. So just come down to the lake just to see if we can see some fish. Now, can't really see any fish, but here on the low mode, it's reasonably good. It's a good amount of light actually, especially for an EDC torch like this. Now, looking down at the floor, I'm holding the camera up maybe 1.5 meters. Oh, how high am I actually tall? No, I'm holding the camera up maybe 1 meter or so. You can see on the path there, you can see the bushes. That bush is probably about, well, yeah, we can just see it. It's maybe 6, 7, 8 meters away. The bush is behind me. But going out onto the water here, we stop seeing the leaves on the water again, probably about 7 or 8 meters out. Now, as I mentioned, so the steps up on this, rather than having a low, medium, high and so on, you have this step kind of, well, it's just a continuous scale up. So we're on low at the moment, but I can keep my finger on this and it will just, so that's just to show that it's on low. Oh, I pressed it again, but we're just showing that it's on low. Now we're getting all the way up to high, and I know that I'm on high because we just had that second blink. But now looking out into the lake, you can see it's a lot easier to see these leaves out here on the lake. Plus it's even easier for me to be able to see the far side there, and then we've got a fake little heron kind of bird on the island there in the middle. See if we can see some fish, see if we can attract some fish. We do get to see some fish sometimes, but I don't think we've got a lot of activity tonight. No, I really don't. Oh, is that one? No, I'm not sure. But yeah, so being able to see that tree on the opposite side of the lake, there's some more trees there. Now, across the lake, just over there, we can get some trees. Let's see if we can get this back in focus. You can see the trees there. The lake is possibly about 20 meters across. It really isn't big, but if I keep it on that tree there and then hold on it so that we do this continuous step down there, it's just flashed and you can see that it's not possible to see that anymore. But coming back here, you can certainly see it whilst walking around. For a smaller EDC torch like this, perfect for trying to find things in the house, in the car, all of that sort of stuff. Now, just to show you the ramp up when, so there's, just to show that we're on low, there we're now on high. I can do a double press and that will take us up to turbo. Now turbo with all 1022 lumens, it's a very strange kind of turbo, but being able to see onto the other side now, those lights are those trees are a lot easier to see. The little heron in the middle there again is a lot easier to see, and that tree now is even easier. And you can start to see into the water. Oh, so there was a fish. Yeah, there was just a fish there. I don't know if you saw that, but yeah, I don't think we certainly aren't attracting any of the fish tonight. But looking on the opposite side, little path. And up to there as well. Turn it off, turn it back on again, and then it will go on to whatever the mode was before you were on turbo. So we're on high, and then press it again. Oh, sorry, yeah, we're definitely on high. Keep my finger on it, and then we'll come back down to low mode. Now, with it turned off, I did mention, so there is a moonlight mode, which is 0.41 lumens. So whilst it's off, I do a long press, and here is that. Now I'm having to squat down to even get to a point where the camera will start to focus. When you're indoors, it's actually a very good amount of light, but it's still less than half a lumen. Great if you're trying to find a pair of socks in your room and you don't want to wake up your significant other. But out like this, when there's still just a little bit of light from the moon, it's very difficult to use. The last thing on here with a triple click, 1, 2, 3, there we have the strobe mode. Yeah, just in case you need it. Now there's genuinely some really nice, small, pocketable flashlights out there at the moment, and I think the Archer Pro, I think this is a theme that I think I tend to look at when I look at just different products or different kind of things. And does it do enough to kind of differentiate itself from, you know, other products? And again, I do think that the Archer Pro definitely does enough to give it more reasons to look away from other lights. That's not to say, and I'm certainly not putting any shade on any of these lights, because they're all tried and tested excellent EDC flashlights, especially the the i5T and the i3T. You know, these are incredibly popular for a reason. The simplicity with these, with the double click, you know what you're getting. You certainly still do with this, but it just gives you just an extra little bit more with that gradient between, depending on how much light you do want to use. Triple click for the fact that you can have a strobe on there, and there's a dedicated moonlight mode. Plus it's rechargeable. You know, I think the Archer Pro definitely does enough to make you think this is something that I need to check out. Now what I'll do is, as I usually do, you know, it's YouTube at the end of the day, I'll leave some links in the description below so that you can see for more from Thrunite. And if there are some links on there, some of those may be affiliate links. It just helps me to make more content like this, or certainly other different types of content. So if you choose to use those, it's definitely gratefully appreciated. What was I going to say next? What was I going to say next? I think I was just going to close, you know, feel free to follow me on social media and all of that kind of stuff. I'll see if I can find some bloopers to add in as well. But yes, for now, stay safe, stay Moorlander, stay EDC. Got a shot in the face yesterday. Yeah. 6mm, it's not a spot, it's a 6mm BB. Bosh! Ooh, that hurt. Look, my belly! But I'm not going to let you see that. Where were we?